Hello my friends, finally we have awesome news. Deutschland checked Leopard Panzer in the Ukraine, which means that Germany sends Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. Plus, we'll have the Leopard 2A6 modification, which has the better barrel and more advanced electronics. According to the yesterday's news, Germany said that it may send 29 Leopard 2A5 tanks, and now we speak about A6 modification. And also we have the articles around the media saying that United States is close to approving significant number of Abrams tanks to Ukraine. I'm very surprised about this decision. The source is coming from the Biden's administration, from the White House, but Pentagon says it's early to say about it. I think maybe United States may send some of the Abrams tanks to Ukraine. That was the condition from the Germany side before. Also, we have different information about the number of those tanks, from 10 tanks till 50 tanks. But again, Abrams tanks require different logistics compared to diesel tanks. They need jet fuel for their turbine engines, and also the maintenance of turbines is quite sophisticated. Well, the good thing that we don't have the desert in Ukraine, and there are no tiny particles that may go into the turbine and wear it out, but still the maintenance should be done, and to do it you need to remove all of the engine, disassemble this turbine, change it for the new one, or repair and put it all back together. So you need to disassemble half of the machine to do it. What is good about the Abrams tanks, that they're proved by war. They were in Iraq, they were in Afghanistan, they were everywhere, and this is really a great machine and one of the symbols of American power. As by the way, Bradleys that destroyed more tanks in Iraq compared to Abrams. Also important news comes from Switzerland. It's known as a neutral country, but actually in Switzerland there are lots of the ammunition and shells are made for many of the guns, tanks and those anti-aircraft vehicles. So let's translate this article into English just for you to understand. So turnaround in arms export, Switzerland is said to offer a hand for the delivery of ammunition and tanks to Ukraine. That's actually superb. For the first time in Switzerland's history, they support ammunition to some of the side of the conflict, like Ukraine. My friends, if this is true, it would be a game changer in this war, not just from the ammunition perspective, but from the political side as well. Alright guys, what is interesting about the Leopard 2A6 tanks that Germany will give to Ukraine, that they are now in Deutschland Bundeswehr, the German army. So they're not on a long-term storage, they're not on a training or something, they are in service for Deutschland. And yesterday it was the funny statement from the Russian Foreign Ministry. They say that if Germany decides to send those tanks to Ukrainian army, they would not need to repaint or paint over those crosses that they have. Yes, I think we have different crosses for Ukrainian army, but those are also okay for us. Oh my friends, those news are so superb. So you see how situation may dramatically change in a matter of days. And just 1 month ago, there were no any talks about the tanks for Ukraine. Now we have the common decision from many of the Western allies, Norway, Poland, Germany and many others. UK obviously, and probably United States will provide the tanks to Ukrainian army. For sure we'll have more than 100 units, and tanks are usually offensive weapons that are needed for the counterattack. And that is why during the springtime I expect the massive Ukrainian counterattack in the south to reach Crimea. Why Crimea is important? Because if we go there, we're gonna kick the Russian regime just into the heart, and there will be internal collapse of the Russian Federation as we know it. And I don't think that Putin will stay in power in case Ukraine would liberate Crimea, and I believe that it's going to happen. There is no other way. And yes, ABC News says that Ukraine will get around 100 Leopards, and 12 of the countries agree to give those types of the tanks to Ukrainian army. Plus UK with the Challenger 2 and maybe United States, so around 150 tanks potentially. And those tanks are much better compared to the standard Russian T-72 tanks. About the final decision from United States, we should wait till the end of this this week. At least we got this information from the Wall Street Journal, and they say that we may get around 30 up to 50 tanks from the United States. And as I said to you before, there are lots of the Abrams that are not in use by United States Armed Forces any longer, so they were written off. But applying some light maintenance on those tanks, you can make them run again, and those tanks will be sent to Ukraine. I'm sure about it right now. Well, that's probably the record for the Russian attack helicopter K-52. 3 of them were shot down today in Zaporizhia direction. And since the beginning of the war, Russia lost 40% of those helicopters. Right, this guy is the deputy of the chief of the president's office, and today he was dismissed from his position. His name is Kirill Timoshenko, and before he got some of the scandals, then we got some of the help from the Western countries. He took one of the cars for his personal needs. People were so angry about it, so he finally gave the car for the armed forces, but there were also other scandals, including his name. So now he's dismissed. As you can see, our president finally took the decision to clean as much as he can after lots of the corruption scandals, and today the deputy of the defense minister also was dismissed. He was responsible for supplies, and recently it was the scandal for the supplies for our armed forces, mainly products and foods and not the military supplies. And our Air Force commander Yuri Ignat said that Ukraine already agreed with the United States for the airplane type that United States will supply to Ukraine. I think that one will be F-16 or maybe F-18, because our pilots already went for the training to fly those fantastic jets. If you think that supplying those sophisticated jets to Ukraine is something unreal, it was unreal with tanks, it was unreal with HIMARS and other stuff. My friends, we're gonna get everything that we need to fight against the Russian aggression. Just need to wait a little. No nukes, I guess, but air carriers? Who knows? Lukashenko said that Ukraine wants to sign the agreement with Belarus to avoid the confrontations. The proposal was not to attack the Belarusian territory, and Belarus itself should not attack Ukraine. We got those news just from Belarus. My friends, before we go to the map analysis, I just want to say that I got the friend. He's now in Bahamut. He's the soldier of Ukrainian army. And just ask you to subscribe for his channel and review his videos, and he's doing fantastic stuff, taking interviews from the soldiers as this one soldier, and actually filming what is happening there, some stuff from the drone that I cannot show you on YouTube, but this channel is very interesting. The name of it is the Flashback UA. I'll put the link in the video description just below for you to check it out. And I got some information from him, but I cannot tell you everything that I got about the situation in Bakhmut. Is kind of difficult. So let's zoom into the Bahamut city. As you can see, Russia is trying to encircle it. They were very successful on the south, and now they're moving from this direction. Actually, they already, you may say that they already cut this road, because they're so close that they may use even mortars and short-range artillery to cut this road for supplies. And the only way for Ukraine is to deliver goods is using the secondary roads that are in this area. So still we have the front line. The first front line is here before the road. Russia still cannot take Ivanovsk, but it's very risky for our forces to use it for supplies, which is kind of bad for the Bakhmut city. It is not a classified information. You can clearly see it on the map. You can just put 2 points and see that just 2.5 kilometers, it's a very short distance from the Russian positions. Russian strategy is usual. They're just destroying the city building by building, step by step, and you cannot use the destroyed building to hide there, and that is how they go. So firstly they use artillery, after that they go with tanks and armored vehicles and army men. From the Russian side, mostly Wagner group is there. They use their regular presence to deflect the attention of Ukrainian army, so they just throw them straight away and then start the attack from the flank flanks using their trained soldiers. Those Wagners who fought in Syria and Africa, so they're well trained with military experience. And if we speak about the private military campaigns, those soldiers are the most crazy. It's not a good thing to be encountered with. So yes, it's hard to keep our positions in Bakhmut. With the military help from the Western countries, obviously we can even counterattack in Bakhmut. But for a few months, I would say until April, we're gonna stay in defense. And if we move to the north side of the Bakhmut, here is not a good sign. You see this residential area on the north, so Russians were able to capture this part. It's kind of bad, and in a worst case scenario they may capture this part until the river, which is actually, I think, is happening right now. So you can see the gray area where the fighting is ongoing. But again, for Russians it would be very hard to cross it over here. Still, we have many of the residential buildings okay for the cover, and we would stand our ground over there. And it's difficult, my friends. It's difficult in Bakhmut. I just hope that our military command learned the mistakes from the Solidar and will not let Russians to capture any kind of our army men in that place. Let's go to the south over here to Zaporizhia region. Russia tried to attack here near to Oryhev. And I also have the mate over there who is just a civilian, and he left the place a couple of days ago. He said that he heard some of the artillery shells very close to his area, and actually, yes, he lives very close actually to the front lines, 8 kilometers away, almost 9, so he decided to leave the area for good. And there's just a small Russian movement over here, and there were some of the videos published in the internet from the Russian side and from Ukrainian side as well. Ukraine posted that we just demolished the Russians on their way to Oryhev. But as you can see, here we have some sort of the gray area. It means that the fighting is ongoing in this place. Russia presented it as the massive attack on Zaporizhia, but no, it's not like that. They use groups up to 50 soldiers to attack some sort of the positions, now with no major advancement. As you can see, Russia takes some small pieces of the ground now, but my friends, it's just a tactical success. Ukraine has strategic goal to drive Russians away from Ukrainian territory, and I believe that it will happen this spring. And now just press the like to this video. Also, you may support this channel on some of the links. You may find them in the video description below. You may support me on Patreon, PayPal and Donatello, whichever is more convenient for you. Thank you so much for your help. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.